Good evening. This is John Bailey. This is People to Be Heard, the program where people who have something to say have their say. Tonight you've got Lenore Friedlaender, Assistant to the President of the Service Employees Union International 32BJ, who handles member representation work for Hudson Valley and Long Island for the union. She has worked for the union for 19 years and has organized their membership. She is the daughter of immigrants who came to the United States in the 1930s to escape the Nazis. She is here because of the story that has not been adequately covered. That is the firing of 7 SEIU employees April 2nd from their employment at the building right next to White Plains City Hall. The union has filed 2 lawsuits, and they are here along with Maria Espinosa in yellow and Maria Molina, who were 2 of the employees that lost their jobs in that letting go. Now, why don't you tell us what happened?
Thank you, John.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you. So on April 2nd, Maria Espinosa and Maria Molina, plus 5 of their coworkers, came to work the way they always come to work. Except for one thing was different. There was a new cleaning contractor that had been hired to come into the building. That company did something that generally is not the industry practice. They refused to allow Maria and their coworkers from continuing to work in the building. So they were fired through no fault of their own. The workers did not do anything wrong. Many of them had many years in the building, 15, 20 years of working hard cleaning offices at night in the building. So April 2nd, 7 workers, 7 hard-working cleaning workers lost their jobs.
They were working for another contractor.
They were working for a different cleaning contractor in the building. The building owner, the building management company, made a decision to change cleaning contractors. That's very common, but the industry practice is in this industry that when the new company comes in, they allow the workers in the building who know the tenants, who know the building, who understand how to make sure the building is clean to work for the new company. In that situation, the workers maintain their jobs, their wages, their seniority, and other benefits.
Right. Why don't you ask the 2 Marias how this job loss has affected them?
Okay. ¿Cómo se siente perder sus trabajos?
Yo me siento muy triste porque es dinero que me hace falta para mis gastos.
She feels really sad, and she doesn't have the same money to pay for her living expenses. ¿Y usted? ¿Cómo se siente?
Me siento muy preocupada porque tengo que pagar renta, biles, mucho dinero que tenemos que pagar. Entonces yo siento que me puedo enfermar porque me preocupo mucho.
She feels really worried because she has to pay her rent and she has to pay bills, and she's worried that the stress of being out of work is also affecting her.
And I would imagine their savings, what they have, are being depleted, right?
This has been a month that they've been without work. And they've had a lot of courage. They've spoken to the tenants. They've been involved in protests. They have participated in filing lawsuits in a legal case to fight for justice in their situation.
Could you explain the 2 lawsuits?
Absolutely. So one of the things that our union, together with others, fought very hard for in Westchester County was to pass something called the Westchester Displaced Workers Act. And what that did is it created a level playing field and a fair situation for workers, so that would require, in the event that there was a change of contractors, whether it's a cleaning contractor, security, or any other kind of a contractor, building service kind of contractor in a building, that the new company coming in would have to take applications and hire the incumbent workers to perform the work that they had been performing with the previous contractor.
And they would negotiate salary, right?
Well, so the Westchester County passed that law, and we worked hard to get that passed. So when that didn't happen, the workers got together and, with our help, filed a lawsuit to enforce that law and so that the new cleaning contractor would have to take them back
At least for 90 days?
at least for a 60-day
60 days.
60-day trial period. But the law also requires that the new company cannot get rid of somebody if they don't have a good reason. So being a member of a union is not a good reason. It's not a legitimate reason to
Did they
to
put
not.
that in writing when
They did not put that in writing,
yeah.
but they said that in front of the whole group. So
see.
the one lawsuit that the workers have, which is going into the New York State court system, which is the court system that enforces the county law, is for violating their rights under the Westchester Displaced Worker Act. The second legal case that they have is in front of the National Labor Relations Board, and that's the federal government agency that enforces the federal labor laws. So when the supervisor of the new company told them all that they didn't have jobs for them because they were part of the union, that is a very clear violation of law. And so some of the workers have given testimony to the labor board, and so what we're seeking is that the new company hire the workers, pay them their back pay, give them their jobs back.
How come the county hasn't filed a show cause disorder? It's their law.
It is a law that the county enacted. The way this works is the workers have filed to enforce their rights under the Westchester law.
But the county hasn't even made a statement.
Well, you know, one of the things that we have done is we've reached out to the county legislators, to the county executive, to the mayor of White Plains, and they've been extremely supportive, as have been many legislators. So they have written a letter, they have made calls, they have tried to reach out to the owner of the building to say they think that he should follow the law and make sure the workers get there.
The legislators drafted a letter, and about 13 out of 17 signed the letter, including Mayor Tom Roach of White Plains.
Exactly.
And Assemblyman David Buchwald. And they tried to present that at a protest just this past week. And what got me about that protest was that the White Plains police prevented county legislators from opening a building. I mean, that chilled me when I saw that. What is the property rights of? Can the police be asked to protect the building?
Well, we don't know how it came to be that the police were called. It's possible that the developer called. We don't really know. The bottom line is that one of the representative of the legislators was allowed to go in and try to meet with the building owner, as well as
Catherine Parker. We have a picture of her doing that and eventually being let in by the White Plains police.
Exactly. And so exactly. So this was an attempt by legislators to express their concern, to convey to the developer how strongly they feel and how important it is that the law that they passed is actually lived up to.
Yeah, and Benjamin Boykin said that he has reached out to the company and they haven't returned his calls.
Exactly. That is, that's not the, the right way to handle something like this.
So at the present time, the action is always up to the union to enforce the law, and not the actual entity that makes the law or put the law.
These are Maria and their 5 coworkers are the workers who are really affected.
Right.
It's their lives that have been turned upside down.
Yes.
It's their jobs that have been lost, and we want to, and because they have a union, they have an organization that can provide them the information about what the law even is. So they're in a situation where they have a union, they're active, they're involved, and they have the support that they need to make sure that there is a fight for their rights.
Now, were you surprised? Were the legislators surprised to see the police there? If you recall,
they may have been surprised to see the police there.
I'm sure they were.
And fortunately, they prevailed and were allowed to. At least one of them was allowed to go inside.
Yeah. What benefits do the SEIU members lose if they negotiate back their jobs?
So our goal is to get them made whole. And what made whole means is they get the lost wages and they get any benefits back that they may have lost in the time out of work. So they've been out of work a month now. And that's our goal in this fight.
Yeah, but the union does not have a stockpiling of jobs awaiting them, right?
The union does not, but what we are really good at is standing up and building a fight so that the workers can win their jobs back. So it's a hardship, it's a sacrifice, but it's a really important fight, and it's a message to every cleaning contractor out there and to the real estate community that this is about doing what's right and what's fair.
Now, lawsuits take time. Are these suits going to be expedited?
Well, we've asked the National Labor Relations Board to expedite the investigation, and we requested an injunction because 7 workers were thrown out of their jobs. It's an urgent situation. So we've asked the Labor Board to fast track this case.
What's the present situation with the when are the trial dates or whatever?
We don't have court dates yet.
You don't.
And
so much for expedition.
Expedited.
Expedite is always someone else's idea. Right?
Exactly. So we have started the process, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation. And in the interim, we're going to continue to take our case to the public and continue to reach out to tenants, to elected officials, to let them know what's happened here.
Is this, to your knowledge, the first test of this law in the county?
It is the first case that I'm aware of, but there could have been other cases.
Yeah, I say elsewhere. Do you feel there's a union-busting movement starting to develop in the New York metropolitan area, probably the world's biggest service employee market?
It's a very, very large service employee market, and the political climate in this country is not very favorable to workers at this moment. On the other hand, there are things that are very hopeful. There are teachers standing up and fighting not only for themselves but for their students and the funding of education in states around the country. There are, in our own union, airport workers have been organizing, passenger service workers in airports have been organizing and have won really an incredible...
In fact, you did have I read about that last night, was that you had this with the Port Authority, was it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Why don't you explain that?
Yes, so we have reached an agreement through a 5-year organizing campaign that gets airport passenger service workers up to $19 an hour in the next few years. So when we started this campaign, baggage handlers and wheelchair workers were making minimum wage, and now they have the opportunity to really earn a decent wage and have fairness and justice on the job, which is so important.
Why did the Port Authority agree to that settlement? What do you think?
Well, there has really been a movement of the workers themselves that has pointed out, in the same way that Maria talked about the conditions that they face being out of work, airport workers have a really important and a very dangerous job. And so as we're able to tell those stories and bring that to light, how important it is for the security and for the health of passengers and the flying public, that airport workers get the proper training, get the proper wages and compensation that they really deserve for the important work that they do.
All right. How come no other unions are supporting you in this effort? I have not seen anyone setting up a picket line to disrupt anything, and there's a question, where are the other unions on this? Because tomorrow it's them.
Tomorrow it could be them, and we are very fortunate to have support of other unions for our efforts, and we're going to continue to encourage members of other unions and other organizations to continue to support Maria and their coworkers.
Meanwhile, are Maria and Maria looking for other jobs? Or do they have to go to basically a union or a union shop, so to speak?
Okay. So la pregunta es si ustedes están buscando otros trabajos en el tiempo que está fuera del trabajo.
Sí.
So Maria says she is looking for another job because she is trying to, in the interim, figure out a way to supplement her income. And Maria also
Same
said
field?
Yes. Mismo tipo de trabajo?
Sí, sí.
Yes.
Okay, and what are the prospects?
¿Cómo le va? ¿Ha encontrado algo?
No,
Yo sí he encontrado, pero lejos.
Maria hasn't found anything yet. This Maria says she did find something, but it was pretty far away.
So increased expenses.
Exactly.
Exactly. Usually the case, it's if you need a job, you have to take what job is available. It's not always okay. Does a strike by SEIU in the offing on this?
Well, a strike would mean that the workers who are the new
would hurt you.
workers who are with the new company would walk off the job. So we have lots of activity with the workers who were thrown out of work. We have leafleting, we have rallies, we have reaching out to electeds and community officials. We have demonstrations and other kinds of activities. So they're out of work, so they wouldn't be the ones striking, but they are involved in daily protests.
Well, could other SEIU affiliated cleaning contractors be struck? I think that was what I was asking.
Okay, so I mean the contracted cleaning industry is very. There are many different cleaning companies.
Right.
So at this time, we are really focused on how do we kind of hone in on the new cleaning contractor and figure out all the ways we can try to reach out to the developer to make sure that they really understand what their obligations are under the law, and that the elected officials are communicating with them their extreme displeasure at the fact that this situation has occurred.
Why is this important?
This is important. Maria and Maria have many years of service. Their lives are important. Their families are important. The idea that when somebody's rights are violated, that they are able to speak up, stand up, and fight for their rights, that's something really important. Working people have rights in this country, and it's important that we stand up and fight to make sure that our rights aren't violated. They deserve, Maria and Maria deserve a job, and they deserve to be treated fairly, and the law should not.
We're like notice, right?
Yeah.
Notice, right?
Yeah.
Now, going forward, how do you see this working out? They will eventually have to get reemployed somewhere, but if they are not taken back, this means this law has no teeth.
Well, I have confidence that in the end we will, justice will prevail, and that we will win this. The law is very clear. The facts are very clear in this case. And the next marker really is when we go to court. That will be a moment that the building owner and the cleaning contractor will have to make a decision about how long they want this to go on. Every day this fight continues, it costs, there's a cost. There's a human cost and there's an economic cost. Every day there's an increased back pay liability. Every day that money adds up. So the longer this goes on, the more expensive it is, the more expensive the solution is.
Do you see any other, this is a private contractor that does not use union people. This reminded me obliquely, but still in a very connected way, with the big strikebreaker industry that erupted in the late 1800s and the early first 10 years of the 20th century. A very violent group and all sorts of repression of the workers just trying to get decent hours and conditions. And I saw this as a test case.
Well,
Do you think it is?
This may be a test case in Westchester of this law. It may also be that, you know, this cleaning contractor and this owner were not aware of the law. And they should be now. And they have an opportunity to cure this and to fix the problem. This contractor is not a major player. This is a small company. And so and they are primarily in Connecticut. So this may be a situation where they really weren't aware.
Could be, but one would think that they would have said, gee, we're sorry, we didn't know, or something like that. But the silence on the part of the company that hired this cleaning company, and not at least putting some sort of explanation for why they did this, I don't think we're talking a lot of money. I mean, this building houses the Department of Fair Labor Standards, for goodness sakes.
Well, that's the building where the owner's headquarters is.
That's right.
Where Maria and Maria worked was 235, 245
That's right.
Main Street. So it was a slightly different building.
Yeah, but I think it's odd that the guy rents space in the Department of Labor. He rents it. He doesn't own that building, right?
That's the building owner. The building owner's office is there.
But he does not own the labor building.
Right. He doesn't own that building. Okay. The cleaning contractor has an office in a different building. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that's important to understand is the race to the bottom that exists in this world of contractors. And what happens is that the building owner says, I want a company to clean my building. I'm going to ask different companies to bid. Mm-hmm. And the building owners often choose the lowest bidder. Mm-hmm. What the union does is it creates a level playing field. Mm-hmm. So that everybody has to compete based on the same wages and benefits. Uh-huh. That creates fair competition. A company like IBM, the new company that the owner brought in, undermines that fair competition and creates a race to the bottom by saying, I'm going to pay the minimum wage and do it for less. Yeah. And so part of what's good about the Westchester County Displaced Worker Law is it helps to create that level playing field. That's good for the workers, and it's good for responsible employers like the employer they used to work for and many others, that allows them to compete fairly, but at the same time there's no race to the bottom, because in the race to the bottom it's the workers who suffer. It's the workers whose wages and benefits get reduced, and that's part of what we're trying to avoid.
Now, what benefits does the union provide for the two Marias and all your other workers?
So the union negotiates for improved wages, for paid sick days, for paid holidays, there are some health benefits. We have an incredible training program and legal services benefit. So we have free classes for our members so they could learn important skills for the job, like green cleaning. They could learn English. We have a legal services program where they can get free legal advice for many civil kinds of matters.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, I noticed in the material on you that you are very active in equal pay for women. Is the union, are Maria and Maria paid the same as men in the union?
Yes, they are, and one of the things
I did not know that.
One of the things that we're very proud about our union is that we stand up for the rights of all workers. We stand up for the rights of women. We stand up for the rights of immigrants. And there's only one job classification, and that's office cleaner. That's women or men. And there's no separate pay for men doing this work than women. So women get the same thing. And we have language in our union contract that gives workers some assurance that they won't be discriminated against because of their gender, their race, their age, their national origin, their religion.
Or perhaps their union affiliation.
And their, of course, their union affiliation.
Exactly. Well, that is fascinating. Now, what about the equal pay for women? Because are other unions the same way?
Many other unions are the same way, and they establish a job classification that's a gender-neutral classification, and then there's a wage that the union bargains for workers in that classification. Now, what sometimes happens is that there are, because of the kind of society we live in, women are tracked into certain jobs and men are tracked into other jobs. That's an additional obstacle that we have to fight for, to make sure that there's equal opportunity for women to come into non-traditional kinds of jobs.
I see. Okay, we have about 2 minutes to go in the program. Do the two Marias have a last message they want to get out?
¿Tiene alguna palabra más que quiere añadir?
No.
Que le pedimos a Dios que nos devuelvan nuestro trabajo porque de verdad que lo necesitamos.
So she is asking God to help them get their jobs back because it's so important.
Right, and also I want to mention that Maria Espinosa's daughter serves in the U.S. Air Force and also is an Iraq veteran.
Yes, she
And,
is. She's
and
very proud of.
I congratulate her on her courage, her daughter. Now, final few minutes. What do you want to say to the persons who may be not very favorable towards unions and why this is important? I think today it's us, tomorrow it's you, right?
Exactly. And this is a law that protects all workers, regardless of those workers that are in a union or not. So if you work in cleaning, if you work in security, if you work for a contractor in any building in Westchester County, if a new company comes in, you should know that you have a right to continue to work for the new company. And that's something that is really important. We're an organization that fights for all workers, whether you're in our union or not. And we encourage workers to join together, to learn about your rights, to stand up and make sure that that you have your rights, because for working people, we're worth it.
Yeah. If someone wants to call and work with you in your endeavors, what number should they call?
They can call our office at 212-388-3800.
Okay, thank you. Well, Lenore Friedlaender, Assistant to the President of SEIU 32BJ, and Maria Espinosa and Maria Molina, fired workers from, we appreciate you being on the program, and you have been heard. John Bailey, good night.